Last week, we had a group discussion, and we had a group discussion about several points, right? We are now in chapter 16 and 17 of Self-Unfoldment, and we've explored this term ignorance. We've explored this term ignorance, and we'll just touch upon it, and then we will go forward into self-realization, the next chapter. Okay, as we go deeper, we analyze that all the problems that we're experiencing, all the problems, every challenge, every single thing that we're experiencing, we're suffering them because of ignorance. Nobody said life is easy. There will always be situations outside. There will be ups and downs. There will be so many things happening. So, in relationships, in objects, in our very own bodies, in our very own minds, things will keep happening because that's the dharma of the world. The dharma of the world is change. That's what it does. It changes. The dharma of people are or is they change. That's what they do. People change. The dharma of the body is that it changes. It grows, it decays, it matures, it does all kinds of things. The dharma of the mind, it fluctuates. Everywhere we go, these things will change. The things inside, the things outside, they will change. Now, when I start to identify with all of this, that's when I suffer, right? I don't suffer because of the changes that are happening, because of the situations that are happening. I suffer because I identify with them. That's why I'm suffering. And this is what Vedanta wants to really point out, that we are suffering not because of things are doing what they're doing, the body's doing what it's doing. We are suffering because we are identifying. And the more we identify, the more we suffer. The more we identify with the body, the more we suffer with all of its limitations and ups and downs. The more we identify with this ego, we take ourselves to be the ego, the more we will identify with all the things that the ego has to go through. So therefore, what is the cause is really this identification. We are identifying, that's why we are suffering. Now, someone will ask, okay, if I understand that when I identify with the sorrowful parts or the sad parts, I will suffer. But when I identify with the joyous parts, will I also suffer? Like, let's say, I have a great body, I have a great mind, I'm identifying it. Will I also suffer? The answer is yes, because joy is also sorrow. Worldly joy is also sorrow. It's just a matter of time before we see the sorrow. Well, let us say someone wants to go on a vacation. And this is going to please everybody. It's going to make us very, very happy. But you just see the simple example of vacation. I want to go on a vacation. The beginning of the vacation, when let's say we book an Airbnb and we get there. In the beginning, we become happy and sad also. Happy because finally we're away from home, but sad because we don't have the same facilities. We're missing certain things. Then slowly, 2-3 days in, I'm very happy, but I'm sad. I'm missing somebody, or I'm missing something. I'm missing my cup of coffee or my dal chawal or something like that. We will be missing something. Close to the end of the vacation, we're again feeling sorrowful. Why? Because only 2-3 days more, then I have to go back to work again. That sorrow will kick in. And then after that vacation is over, then there's also sorrow because now it's over. Now what do I do? So you see, in life, even the joys are only seeming joys. They are riddled with sorrow, actually. We have not experienced joy per se. We have actually never experienced joy. If you look at your life, if you look at my life, we have never experienced pure joy. It hasn't happened. It's always with some sort of sorrow. So even if I identify with sorrow or I identify with that seeming joy, that is also suffering. That is also suffering. The minute there's identification, there is suffering. The degree of the identification will determine the degree of suffering. Okay? Now, why do I identify? I identify because of ignorance. I don't know my real nature, and this is why I identify. So now the connection is very clear between ignorance and suffering, ignorance and the sorrow that I am experiencing. This connection is clear. Once this connection is clear, then the solution of knowledge will be clear. This connection I don't know, that is called avidya, avidya or ignorance. And this avidya has two powers we saw. One is called veiling, I don't know who I am. The other is called projecting. Therefore, I think I am the body, mind, intellect. I don't know that it's a rope. I don't know what it is actually. I don't know what it is. It's a rope, but I don't know it's a rope. That's veiling. Projecting is, therefore, I think it's a snake. And when there is something lying there, we don't know what it is, we think it's a snake, we suffer because we want to run away from it. We're so scared that the snake might bite us and we suffer, but it's an imaginary snake. The same way, that imaginary snake that I project onto the rope, that is the imaginary ego that I project into the self. And when I project that imaginary ego, I suffer. So now ignorance is the problem. It's a problem. So anything that I'm experiencing, anytime I'm suffering, it's only because of that. Find out where is the sorrow touching? Is the sorrow touching the body? Is the sorrow touching the mind? Is the sorrow touching the ego? And wherever that sorrow's touching, is that you? And the answer will be no. If it was me, then I wouldn't experience sorrow, right? The very fact that I can say that sorrow is experienced, it means I am different from it. So therefore, in Vedanta, the solution is knowledge. That is why we are studying extensively, because knowledge is a solution, because ignorance is a problem. Now, in this path of self-knowledge, there are three problems that a seeker goes through. And for each problem, there's five. Actually, there's five. Three main ones and then two. And I will explain to you clearly. When a seeker comes to Vedanta, the first problem is, I don't know. A seeker comes to Vedanta, the first thing is, I don't know who I am. I don't even know my real nature. I don't even know what we're studying. I don't know anything about the Upanishads. I don't know where to learn from. I just don't know. All I know is what I've learned for all of these years that I've been living my life. That I am this jiva, I am this person, I should live a good life. But the truth is, I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know that there is such a goal to be attained. I don't know that there is even something as self-realization. I don't know where to look for it. I don't know. This I don't know, to solve that, so the problem is I don't know, the solution is what we call Shravanam. So these are the steps to self-realization. Step one is Shravanam. Shravanam means listening, but not just listening. It means listening to the scriptures. See, here it doesn't say reading. Reading is not the solution. It is listening, because there has to be a teacher. It is not something to be pursued on one's own, because it is a very deep and systematic study. So when we say listening, it means listening to what? The scriptures, hmm? Particularly Vedanta. From whom? From a teacher. Hmm? From a teacher who has, because the teacher will understand the whole perspective of the scriptures. When we study on our own, we can, but we won't get the whole entire picture. And sometimes our study also is very unsystematic. One day we will feel like listening to a podcast, one day a blog, one day we will read something. So it's very unsystematic. So the ideas cannot build and one cannot go deep. Huh? Of better unsystematic than no study, I would say. But best is systematic study, so we can really go deep into the scriptures. So, like, let's say self unfoldment, we have been studying. Now, those who have studied from the beginning, then these points can go deep and you can correlate and connect so many things. But if it's a hodgepodge study, it becomes difficult. So, Shravanam means the systematic listening, studying of the scripture at the feet of a teacher. Hmm? And this Shravanam, what is the purpose that the Shravanam accomplishes? It accomplishes that I know now the central theme of the Upanishads. I know the central theme of the Upanishads, which is found in the Mahavakya, in the great statement. And what that great statement says is that I am pure consciousness, pure awareness. I am Sat Chit Ananda. This is called Shravana. I come to this conclusion that now I know that I could be this self. I know that there's something deeper. And I also know the source of knowledge, the Upanishads. So this is the first step to self-realization, is what we call Shravana. Now, after this Shravanam, what will happen? Doubts will naturally happen. Doubts will naturally occur. Like, how can I be this pure consciousness? How can I be Sat, that which is changeless? When this body keeps changing, this mind keeps changing, how can I be changeless? What does it mean that there's some changeless substrata? What does it mean that it's always there, it's constant? Or there's doubts about Chit. What does it mean I am the witness? Does it mean I'm actually witnessing, or does it mean that I'm just awareness? And how is that possible? So this doubts. And Ananda, what does it mean that my nature is pure bliss? I'm not happy, I'm experiencing sorrow all the time, I'm going through ups and downs all the time. What does it mean that my nature is bliss? How can I be that? And is that something outside of me that I have to experience? Is it something that I gain at another place at another time? Or is it something that's ever there? So all these doubts will come. And even questions like, but how do you know Atma is like this? What is your proof? All of these questions will come. And therefore, the second step to self realization is called Mananam. Mananam means removing doubts and clarifying all the concepts. So Mananam it's a reflective process wherein the doubts are removed, concepts are clarified, so that we can even go deeper into the study. So when we have discussion groups, that is one way of clearing doubts. Another way of clearing doubts, which is very powerful, of course, is self reflection. Going back after I've studied, after I've listened, now going back and saying, do I understand these things? And if there are certain things I don't understand, then I should mark them. Mark them. This is still not clear. This is still not clear. And what happens is, in time, everything becomes clear. Hmm? Mananam can also be studying from different texts. I learned this in this text, I learned this in this text. Now, how do I connect it? How do I uh, put it together? Mananam can also be, now I've listened to it, but how is it? How do I do apply it in my life? How do I? What can I? What practices can I do to really feel that in my life? Hmm? So it can be all of these different angles. And I shared with you all a Subhashita before. Acharyat padam adatte means in our scriptures the learning happens in four parts. Hmm? Acharya padam adatte. The first quarter of learning happens from the teacher. That's only one quarter. Huh? Padam shishya swamedhaya. The second quarter comes with the person's own self-reflection. That is part of the learning process. Don't think 90% will come from the teacher. No, 25% comes from the teacher. That's it. The next 25% is our own reflection on the subject. So if this is not done, we won't get clarity. Sabrahmacharyabhyah, padam sabrahmacharyabhyah. The next quarter, third quarter, comes with discussions. It comes with discussing with other people, because then only we're able to share things. We're going through the same things. You may know some things that I don't know. I may know some things that you don't know. So this discussion is a very healthy forum to clear all doubts and to clarify concepts. Then padam kalakramena cha. The final quarter comes in time. It comes in time. Because sometimes we do not have the maturity to understand scriptures. I've studied this book way back years ago, and definitely how I understood it, I don't understand it the way I understand it now. And I bet in the future it will even be deeper, you know? So it happens in time. In time, all of the learning settles in. So this process is called Mananam. It is a part of the learning process. It's not something we just listen to and then, it's okay. So that is issue number 2. I don't know how. Issue number 1 is I don't know, period. Issue number 2 is I don't know how. Issue number 3 is now I know. I know the central teaching of the Upanishads. I'm studying it. Now my doubts are getting clear, and hence you'll see that's why we have so many different texts, because it addresses all kinds of doubts, which are very, especially these texts that we do like Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, they really clarify doubts. The third problem is I don't experience it in my life. I don't experience the effect of this knowledge in my life. If you're saying, by this knowledge, my sorrow will reduce, my sorrow, my suffering will reduce. If that's what you're saying, I know this knowledge, I have understood this knowledge, but I'm not feeling that effect. I still am suffering. I'm suffering in fact, I'm even suffering more than I was suffering before. I'm suffering because I know I shouldn't be suffering. Before I was just plainly suffering. Now I'm suffering, and I'm suffering because I know I shouldn't be suffering. I should know better. So I am suffering. I'm not feeling this knowledge in my life. I'm not experiencing the result of it. That is a problem. And the solution to that, the third step of self-realization, is what we call Nididhyasanam, which means contemplating on that reality. What is the problem here? The problem is this now. It's a different level. The knowledge is there, but it hasn't gone deep. You see, how do we live our lives? How do we carry day-to-day activities? How do we make the decisions that we make? A lot of it is based on our vasanas. And our vasanas are in the subconscious level. Our vasanas are deep impressions which are created by the past repeated thoughts, repeated actions, all of these repetitions, they create deep habits that are ingrained in us. And so, therefore, even if we know and we are learning and we want to change, those vasanas sort of steer us away. They steer us away because our habits take us, they take us forcefully. They take us away in some other direction because they come so natural to us. Hmm? For example, somebody who knows that they should wake up early, that no matter what, they should wake up early. They even are very clear about why they should wake up early. Why? What are the benefits of waking up early? And still, when the alarm clock rings, still they sleep. Huh? Somebody who knows they should eat healthy. They know, they studied it, they know all the benefits of eating healthy, they know what diet to follow. But then, when that samosa, pakora, all this junk comes in front of them, what happens? They nicely eat it. Because why? Why is it that we cannot live up to that knowledge? Despite knowing, despite being clear about it, it's because of those vasanas. And therefore, Nididhyasana is prescribed to abide in this knowledge, to make this knowledge one with us, to make this knowledge very, very deep. That is why we contemplate, so this knowledge can be deepened. Like the way we know and like the way we say, I am the body. It's like second instinct. It's like second nature to us. I'm the body. It's so natural to us. The same way I am Brahman has to become like that, so natural to us. Like how I'm Shubhani, so natural. I am Brahman has to become so natural to us. Through these 3 steps, what we said, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, through these 3 steps, and Nididhyasanam culminates into Samadhi. Samadhi, what we call the total absorption of the mind into the self. Through these 3 steps, what happens is we gain that knowledge which is free from doubts. It's absolutely crystal clear, free from doubts, and it is free from erroneous notions. When we say free from erroneous notions, it means free from the notion that I am the body, I'm the mind, I'm the intellect. I no longer feel that way. And the erroneous notion also that the world is very, very real. This topic we didn't take up so much in this text, but in other texts, this will be highlighted. And the reason for that is because this is already enough to take. So I want to first focus on this. So that knowledge which is crystal clear, free from doubts, that knowledge which is free from erroneous notions, that knowledge is what we call self-knowledge, knowledge of the self. And that knowledge removes ignorance. And when that knowledge takes place, then moksha takes place, liberation takes place. One realizes that they are absolutely free and they were always free to begin with. That is called self-knowledge, or what we call self-realization. Now, a question may come, is self-realization, is it like a thought? Because right now, when I am in class, when I'm listening to this, it's very clear to me. I understand, it's crystal clear to me in class. And I also don't feel I'm the body, I'm the mind, I also feel that in class. Am I realized? No. Self-realization is not a thought. It's not a thought. It's a thoughtless abidance. It's a thoughtless awareness. So even if I had a thought, and even if during class I'm getting it, I'm understanding it, am I realize, no, what I'm getting right here and right now is a glimpse of this knowledge, which is very essential and very key. That glimpse of this knowledge is very key, because only when we get the glimpse, we will get the gem. So it is like we are walking somewhere in a, in a beach, let's say, and there is something in the sand which is shining. It's something that's shining. And we can see the glimpse. It's so beautiful. We can see glimpse that it's shining. And we're walking closer to it, and it's shining even brighter. And we're walking closer, it's shining even brighter. And then at some point in time, we actually take that gem and hold it in our hand and feel the total brilliance. That taking the gem and holding it in the hand is called self-realization. That seeing the glimpse here and there, that is just called glimpse. And that is a very integral process. Don't think just because we're having a glimpse, then what is that? That is an integral process, because only one who gets the glimpse will get the gem. This is self-realization. Okay. Now I've put this chart together. So I will show you this chart, and then now this will bring all the concepts in. Okay, so that everybody understands. And then after this, if anybody has any questions, then you can ask. Okay, so here we go. Here it is, right? Okay, so this is the roadmap, let's say, roadmap. So what is the roadmap? So somebody who wants to get self-realized, someone who wants to gain this, what do they have to do? So the problem is, I don't know who I am. The solution is knowledge. So again, as I cannot stress this enough, the problem, ignorance, has to be very clear why ignorance is a problem. If this is not clear, then nobody will pursue this path of knowledge. So the solution is knowledge. And the method is Shravanam, systematic study of Vedanta from a teacher. That is the solution. That is the method. Solution is knowledge, is the method. And the yoga is, this is Jnana Yoga. Now another problem comes. I listened, but I have doubts. How can I be Brahman? How can this be true? I have doubts. The solution again is knowledge, and the method is Manana, thinking, reasoning, clarifying doubts. This is where, as I said, your own personal self-reflection and discussions will be very helpful to clarify these doubts. Because until and unless it, we keep chewing on it, we don't get it. Then another problem comes, erroneous notions. I don't feel it. It's not manifesting in my life. I'm not able to practice this. This is, I've cleared all the doubts, but I'm not feeling the effect of this knowledge. If you say this knowledge will make me free, this knowledge brings bliss, I don't feel that. What is the solution? Knowledge, Nididhyasanam, contemplation on the self. And this happens only after Shravana and Manana. So it cannot happen. You can't say, let me contemplate on the self now. It doesn't work. It happens only after Shravana and Manana. When I am clear about those concepts, then I can sit down and contemplate on them. So this happens only after Shravana and Manana. And Manana, of course, only happens after Shravana. So Shravana is the first key step. It's a key step. This is also Jnana Yoga. Now, the problem comes, above is not working. I tried Shravana, I tried Manana, I tried Nididhyasana, it's not working. The problem here is what we call vikshepa or distracted mind. To even listen to scriptures, the mind has to be so focused, so centered. It cannot go here and there and everywhere. Otherwise, nothing will happen. We won't get the knowledge in. Shravana is where knowledge takes place. And if one is not focused, one is not still or steady, knowledge will not take place. So if the problem is that my mind is distracted, I cannot focus, the solution is chitta ekagrata. We need to develop single pointedness of mind. And that is why we do contemplations or upasana and japa. That is why I insist on japa. For everybody, I insist on japa, because this deals with the mind that gets very distracted. And that comes through bhakti yoga and raja yoga. Then another problem can come. It's not even that my mind is distracted. I can't even sit. Forget distracted mind. I can't even sit because the mind is impure. It is disturbed. There's a lot of negativity in that mind. And the solution there is chitta shuddhi or purity of mind. That mind has to become pure. It has to become purified. And this happens through selfless, dedicated action, which is karma yoga. So, this, when we talk about bhakti yoga, raja yoga, karma yoga, this is how important it is. It is extremely important because if we are not prepped or if we do not practice this, these three steps will not be possible. It is like this. For knowledge to take place, all of these sadhanas are required. If you take knowledge as the sprout, knowledge as a sprout, and that knowledge will bloom into liberation, that knowledge will grow into liberation. When you have that seed of knowledge, you will get the plant of liberation. That is for sure. Knowledge brings liberation. But remember, for that seed to grow beautifully, the land must be fertile. That land is bhakti yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga. For that seed to blossom beautifully. That seed, that knowledge will bring liberation. But for it to blossom, to grow beautifully, we need the land to be fertile. So that is the role of the other sadhanas. When we grow older, in Chinmaya Mission, the focus a lot is on Jnana Yoga. But you will see that for children, for youth, we do not focus on Jnana Yoga. We focus a lot on Karma Yoga and on Bhakti Yoga and even on Raja Yoga sometimes, so that they become very fertile. That land becomes very, very ready. And once that ripe age comes, then you give that mind Jnana Yoga and that person will get it. That is the idea. That is the idea of the whole program. That is the idea of why we do what we do. In our case, it might feel like it's a bit backward, isn't it? We're getting Jnana Yoga, but then all of these issues are coming, that the mind is distracted, that the mind is impure, all of these issues will come. That's okay. We have to just, at least we know what the issue is and where we have to work. So this is the process to self-realization. And self-realization is that thoughtless, effortless abidance in the self. And this brings moksha or liberation. Liberation means realizing that I was always free. I am ever free. And because I am free and I am not identified with any of these limitations, I am limitless, I am infinite, and I am bliss. That is Vedanta. Now, I'm going to pause here. So the question is, what is Raja Yoga? Okay. See, this Raja Yoga is also known as Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga. The yoga of 8 limbs. So this Raja Yoga, while Karma Yoga focuses on action, it's action oriented. We use action to unite us to the higher. And Bhakti Yoga focuses on emotions. We use emotions to unite us to the higher. Jnana Yoga, of course, it uses logical thinking, analysis, inquiry to unite us to the higher. This Raja Yoga uses a lot of disciplines to unite us to the higher. And those disciplines come in the form of 8 limbs. And those 8 limbs are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So Yama and Niyama, they are like these disciplines of truthfulness, brahmacharya, non-stealing, non-hoarding. They are daily disciplines that one should practice. Asana, you all know, it deals with having that steady, straight posture by which I can sit and contemplate. Pranayama is regulation of the breath. Pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses. Dharana is holding an object, finding an object and holding on to it. Dhyana is a single pointed thought flow in that object. And Samadhi is that effortless flow of thoughts in that very object. So, this yoga also helps us with stilling the mind, making it very single pointed. Is that clear? So, right, as I said, so the other question comes is, see, in Shravanam, we say listening to Vedanta at the feet of a teacher, at the feet of a guru. But we will find some people very highly evolved that they did not have a guru. So, what does this mean? The first point is that they are exceptional, and we are not exceptional. So, they are exceptional people. So, for them, they do not require a guru. Second point is, you see, our previous lives also play a role. See, all of us did not come to this life with the same level of seeking. We all came in different levels because of our previous life. So, in their previous life, also, they must have had a guru, somebody who has taught them, somebody who's instructed them. They must have had that experience because that is the way we learn. And therefore, because they came so highly evolved, then they do not need a guru in this life. For those who are very highly evolved, they do not need a guru. In fact, actually, as we go deeper, in the beginning of Vedanta, we all need a physical teacher. We all need that. But the role of the guru is very beautiful because the guru wants us to be independent of him or her. Their role is to make us independent. Right. So the physical guru actually, as we mature, becomes the guru within. Right. So for those highly evolved saints and sages, they don't need the physical guru. They have already found the guru within. Right.
Like Shankaracharya.
Question is that, see, when we do something wrong, when we fall, whatever, it is only because we identify with the mind, the intellect, that we want to correct ourselves, isn't it? It's only because we identify with that we want to correct ourselves. But for the ones who don't identify with that, how do they correct themselves? What is that procedure? So, number one, at the stage we are in, and that's why this is, I cannot stress this enough. The first part is always to cultivate a sattvic life. That is number one. That is absolute must to big, so that we can self correct ourselves. The only person who can effectively disassociate with the mind, the intellect, is a sattvic one. A rajasic person may be able to disidentify with the mind and the intellect for a moment or for moments in their life, but they'll always come back. A tamasic person won't be able to do it. It is only a sattvic mind that can really take a step back and disassociate and say, I am not this, I am not that. So, because it is only a sattvic mind who can effectively do it. Now, listen, Rajasic mind can do it, but as I said, it's in spurts, it's in moments. It won't even stay. But only a sattvic mind can actually do that practice. So, for that sattvic mind, they're already reached that point where their mind is tamed to a great extent. They have achieved a certain kind of control of their mind to a great extent. So you will see that their lifestyle, the way they speak, the way they live, all of it is sattvic. Hmm? So that is not an issue. And if they do fall, they will catch themselves. They will say because they are a sattvic mind. So it is only a sattvic mind that can achieve that level of detachment. And so it is not a dangerous thing, or it's not a threat, because other states of mind will not be able to do it. So there's a good question. So like, which do you need to spend time in all paths, or how much time would you spend in one path of all these yogas? Now see here, we know that the problem is ignorance and the solution is knowledge. Therefore, jnana yoga is a must, and that is the direct path to liberation. So that jnana yoga must be practiced by everybody. Everyone will get to it at some point in time. That is the direct path to liberation. Now, to be able to be eligible for jnana yoga, all these other yogas are prescribed: bhakti, karma, raja yoga. Now, do I have to do all? How much time do I spend in all? See, inevitably, all of us have facets of these different yogas in our life. You have to see the main goal of these three yogas: bhakti yoga, karma yoga, ashtanga yoga. What we have to get is chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata. Chitta shuddhi, purity of mind, and chitta ekagrata, single pointedness of mind. These two things we have to get. Now you have these three yogas and you have these two things. Now you, as per your personality, engage accordingly to get these two things out of these three things. So it is not said that you have to spend this much time here and that much time there. There's nothing like that in Hinduism. It says these are the three ways. This is what you have to get. Now you engage as per your temperament, because some of us may be more emotionally inclined, some more action oriented, some want that practice of discipline of asana, pranayama, etc. So you see what fits you best as a seeker. But these two things you have to get. There is no escaping that. And once these two things are mature in a being, that jnana yoga really takes effect. Is that clear? The chart that I showed you, it's actually like inverted. And why I've put it this way is because most of us come to this realization later in our lives. We did not know that we have to, even I did not know when I was younger, that we had to get chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata, and all of these things. A lot of us start from there. We only learn that we're supposed to do all of these things. And hence the chart is structured in that particular manner. The question is being vegetarian part of having a sattvic mind? Yes. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 17, it says there are three kinds of ahara, three kinds of food, and that food affects your state of mind. So that's they describe what is sattvic food, which is fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, etc. That is called sattvic food, and that has a direct correlation to the mind. Rajasic food is all the food that gets us hyper and active, and all kinds of things will go in our mind. Tamasic food is that which makes us very dull. So it has an effect. Now the thing of self-realization is clear. Outline, how does one achieve self-realization? Next week we will see why will we want to even achieve this self-realization? What does this self-realized person look like? How do they live their lives? That we will see next week. Okay?